Hey there, this is part 2 to a video, so if you have not seen part 1, watch that, then come back. I'll leave a link in the description if you're too lazy to find it. So anyways, now Beth's dead and we cut back to the family back at home and Max is looking out his window. Oh no, the spooky snowman's back and there's another one, this is so scary! Hey, remember how there's no service? Yeah, there's still no service.
It's the weirdest thing. There's no cars, no people, not even a salt truck.
It's not like you already established everyone's on holiday.
It's getting late. Beth should be home by now.
She's fine. She's at Derek's.
All the more reason to worry.
Hey, hon, relax. Just for once, okay?
Don't worry about your missing daughter, I'm sure she's fine. She was meant to be home ages ago, but let's not worry about it. Let's not go out and look for her right now. Let's not worry at all.
How's everybody else doing?
You know.
Obnoxious, obnoxious. They have no other character traits. Why are you even asking me this? Hold on a second, I'm searching up the characters' names. I genuinely forgot what they're called. Give me a second. I'm opening IMDb. Give me a second. I need to... Here we go. What are these characters called? Okay, Sarah and Tom have a moment where they talk about how they miss them and they miss their relationship and the love they used to have when all of a sudden Max comes in.
It's already dark out and Beth isn't back yet.
Screw the missing daughter, Max, they were having a moment. So after seems to have been like many hours, the adults finally decide it's a good idea to look for Beth. Tom asks Howard for help and everyone takes the chance to be as obnoxious as possible before Howard says yes. However, because the last video featured enough torturous, obnoxious dialogue, I'm just not going to subject you to any of it. Basically, Howard's like, oh finally, you're manning up, Tom, you're going on a retcon mission, and Dorothy comments on... Fuck, what the fuck's their names? I literally can't remember their fucking names. Linda and Howard's marriage. Dorothy comments on Linda and Howard's marriage. Linda and Howard... I can't say it. Jesus Christ, this movie. I normally would not include things like this. But it's just a testament to how underdeveloped and uninteresting these characters are. Their only character trait is that they are obnoxious, so I can't remember a single other thing about them, including their names. Anyways, Omi tries to convince Tom not to go. She says it's too dangerous, but doesn't go into detail because obviously we need the Krampus exposition scene. But Tom reassures her everything will be fine and that they're just going to pick up Beth.
Hey, Mom. We have to go pick up Beth, but Max and Sarah will take care of you while I'm gone. Okay? Mom, hey, Mom, listen. Oas wird in Ordnung sein. Ich verspreche. Everything's gonna be okay.
Anyways, now Tom and Howard are driving off to find Beth.
Global warming my ass. Must be -20 out here.
In case you forgot, they were obnoxious. You know, instead of reviewing this movie, I could have just made a video of every obnoxious line of dialogue in this movie, and I'm not sure which approach would have been more painful. Anyways, they encounter a snowplow in the road, and they decide to stop because there's a snowplow, and I guess the film just expects us to believe that's what was causing the siren earlier, even though that was very clearly an ambulance. They discover that the snowplow was in a car accident, despite the fact that the road looked completely clear.
Right. Poor bastard must have sailed clear through.
More like the opposite.
What do you mean?
The glass is punched in.
I mean, you probably should have clued into the fact that he did not fly through the window, considering that there was nothing in front of the snowplow anyway. But remember, Howard really is that stupid.
We gotta find Beth. You packed guns on Christmas.
Always be prepared, Boy Scout.
It's kind of heavy.
Yeah. It's Linda's.
Okay, I do like this exchange, but I do not believe for a second that Linda, the person who does not let Howard talk about guns at the table, allowed him to bring guns to Christmas with the family. Anyways, we cut back to the house and we get a nice little talk between Linda and... Jesus Christ, I can't... Sarah! Her name is Sarah! I got it right, I didn't even have to look at IMDb that time. Her name is Sarah. Jesus Christ, this movie! Linda and Sarah have a pretty nice heart-to-heart about their mother. But horror has to horror, so we get this as a follow-up.
Mom? Probably just squirrels.
In this weather.
Yeah, I'm bored.
See? Squirrels.
Let's not worry about this and pretend it was squirrels when it very, very clearly was not squirrels.
Squirrels.
Right. Probably playing with their nuts.
This was screened in cinemas. Anyways, that scene's over now, and now we're at Derek's house. After Tom calls on Beth and Derek for a bit instead of calling on the adults in the house because Beth clearly has issues with her parents, they find that the house has kind of been wrecked.
Whoever did this is a demented son of a bitch.
So you look at this not remotely scary knife and a gingerbread man, and your first thought is, in the most phony accent I have ever heard, that this person, whoever did this, is demented, and then you decide to eat part of the biscuit? If someone really demented did this, and think about what could be in that biscuit, never mind the amount of frost on it. Then they find this and all they're thinking is, yep, it was clearly a gas line blowing. Get it? It's because Santa comes down the chimney, and so did Krampus. Then they see something a little weird. You know, the way that shot's framed, I thought it was that little doohickey in the middle, but it turns out it's actually the hooves they were looking at and not the thing on the right of it. Howard starts thinking about what it could be, but then Tom's like, wait a minute, why would it be walking on its hind legs if it was a goat or an elk? Then Tom turns around for no reason and then hears a scream. He thinks it's Beth, so they start going after it. Then something catches onto Howard's leg. So Howard gets very comically dragged through a bunch of very obviously fake snow and nearly dies until Tom saves him last minute. Although if there is something under the ground, I have no idea why it didn't just drag Tom as well. If we make a scenario where Tom and Howard never actually get back to the house, then we have the idea that the rest of the family thinks they've found some help, or the rest of the family thinks they need help. This could lure more people out, specifically Linda, Jordan, and Stevie, as they are clearly the strongest people in the house. Or Sarah, who almost definitely feels bad for making the horrible mistake of letting Beth go in the first place. The only adults who would not leave because of this are Omi and Aunt Dorothy, because Omi knows about Krampus and Aunt Dorothy does not care about anyone but herself. Max would say because someone has to stay with Omi. Howie is basically pointless in this movie, so I don't see him doing anything going out, and of course the dog and the baby aren't gonna go either. But you have 4 more potential victims if you just drag both of them down instead of targeting one of them. Then you add on the fact that Howie couldn't really avoid his death due to his gluttony, and Omi and Dorothy basically accept their deaths. All you have left is a baby, a dog, and the person that you're planning on leaving alive. If this scenario does work out the way it does, that is. I mean, this is just hypothesis. Krampus could have killed everyone much quicker than he does. Why did he choose the more inefficient option here? You have so many elves to do this for you. Oh my god. Tom saves Howard and then they go back to the Hummer and oh my god, all of a sudden their vehicle's broken. Good thing there's another one with keys in it right behind you. See, Sarah was going to leave anyways if someone just shot a gun. You could have killed both of them by having both of them go under snow and still had one of them shoot a gun. Why is Krampus so inefficient? Anyways, Tom and Howard show up and it is very clear straight away that they made the conscious decision to not take the vehicle that had keys inside. Obviously, as soon as they arrive, there's a lot of panic, but then Tom's like, wait a minute, Howard, maybe we should try and cease the panic so the adults try and control everything and send the kids into the kitchen. Max clearly is not buying any of what the adults are trying to say, but they send him in before he can retort anymore. The adults then ask Aunt Dorothy to go into the kitchen with the kids.
Aunt Dorothy, will you keep an eye on them? Why me? I never liked kids, even when I was one.
Please.
Oh, all right. All right. Come on, guys, I'm gonna teach you how to make peppermint schnapps.
Weren't you worried about a lack of food earlier? Why are you presuming straight away that you have everything to make peppermint schnapps? I mean, earlier you were the one going on about how she didn't have ham. Are you expecting much more? Omi is also sent to help with the kids, but she decides to give foreshadowing before she goes.
Kümmert euch das Feuer.
See, a little sugar, a little spice. Makes everything nice.
You're really lucky you know where everything in this house is, despite this being the first time you've been. The adults all start panicking about where Beth is and what happened outside and the loss of the truck, despite the fact that there is another vehicle that they did not even try. They start discussing what could have happened, and I'm not even kidding, they seriously ponder if it was terrorism. And then Tom explains his grand plan to stay inside and just board up all the doors and windows. And I want to take now to address one of this film's biggest problems. There is such an unbearable amount of tonal inconsistency, and it just flat out ruins a lot of the movie. There are so many scenes that are trying to be tense or scary or heartfelt, and they're filled with jokes that don't fit.
I think our best bet is to stay put. Board up all the doors and windows. And as soon as the weather breaks, we'll go find her.
I told you we should have gone to my brother's.
Sure, Howard, Christmas on a pig farm.
Jesus was born in a barn.
Knock it off, you guys. What about the kids? What are we gonna tell them?
Know the truth?
Sure. Which version of it?
Hey, you guys. How much of that did you hear?
Enough.
Mama, did someone take Beth? They're coming for us. No.
You see what I mean? Any weight or tension in any of these scenes, or hell, even a cohesive flow, is completely ruined by these unfitting, out-of-place jokes. It also really ruins the pacing as well. This film already drags on as it is, but the jokes just make it worse. And I could maybe excuse this if the jokes were somewhat funny, but they're not. So why on earth is the entire film bogged down with them? We get some moments where the characters are being less obnoxious to each other, and it is a lot preferable to when they are being obnoxious to each other, but the dialogue could still use some work. And honestly, there's not really much to comment on here. It's watchable, but it's not really that interesting. Max is obviously not sleeping well, so he decides to come over and take a look outside, and oh my god, what does he see? More snowmen! Oh no!
Hey, Ned. Are we gonna die?
Yes. Max asks Tom why Omi's acting weird, and he says Omi's always weird around this time of year, but he doesn't know why either, and it's gonna be fine. Anyways, Max goes to bed, and Howard suggests that one of them stay up and keep watch.
It's a good idea. First. No, you go ahead and catch some wings with your family. You sure? Shepard's got to protect his flock.
I'm sorry, should you not be resting because of your wound? In what universe is this a remotely okay idea? Oh, it was also there could be a joke about him passing out, I get it. Oh no, the fire's gone out. I do not believe you all fell asleep before you turned this off. We hear some Alvin and the Chipmunks outtakes before this comes down the chimney with a gingerbread man attached. I could show you this visually, but this shot goes on for nearly 20 seconds, so I don't think it's worth it. See, there's a gingerbread man. Okay, so you had that whole thing where it's like, oh, we're gonna catch the attention of the people in the room by shaking this about, but you decide to have him smell it to wake up? I am aware kids are stupid, but no kid would actually go over to this without waking someone else up first. Nah, kids are plot devices, we can make them do whatever we want. Instead of having him actually be cautious and wake up an adult, we are going to have him be cautious and walk over as slowly as possible so he doesn't wake up an adult. Honestly, I'd be totally okay with all of this if this was remotely scary, but it's not. There are plenty of great horror movies out there that do not make the most sense, but a good horror film is scary enough to distract you from plot issues, or in other cases at least self-aware enough to address them. This movie is neither, and it's not even remotely enjoyably bad at this point. This scene in particular is just plain boring, and in looking for something to be interested in I just wind up finding issues with the plot. If the horror was remotely effective, this might not feel like a tired plot convenience. But the horror is not effective, so all I can see is this boring cliche. And it really doesn't help that Howie has basically no character. This biscuit has chains on it. What am I gonna do? Whoops. We are now treated to quite the spooky sequence. Basically, after Howie's first line of dialogue being a scream, he starts being dragged up the chimney. So of course all the parents frantically run to grab him and they grab his legs just in time. Except now Sarah is also being dragged up. And quite honestly, watching this scene was a fresh breath of air for this movie because this is the most entertaining thing that has happened the entire runtime. This scene features so many layers of unintentional hilarity, it is unreal. For one thing, Toni Collette starts panicking and accidentally kicks a log into the tree, and then the tree sets on fire. Speaking of which, Toni Collette treats this scene like she is giving birth, and it is absolutely hilarious. Her acting has improved in this movie for the most part, but her performance in this scene is just so over the top. I also want to note that that was meant to be scary, but the obvious pitch shifting on the gingerbread men just makes their voices really funny. I also love every single reaction shot. Seriously, it is so unbelievably goofy. And then you have the cherry on top. Yep, you saw that right. Howie's shoe falls back down the chimney and hits Howard in the head. This is a horror comedy, so I am aware people are going to excuse that as intentionally funny, but it did not seem like it was meant to be. Seriously though, what the hell was that scene?
Holy thing was that?
It's my fault. I fell asleep. Look out, boy. It's all my fault.
Nein.
Es ist unser aller Schuld. Wollte uns alle holen.
Tom, what she said.
This is all of our fault? He's come for us all? I don't know. Mom, what are you talking about?
Please, listen. English. I knew it.
Okay, as hilarious as some of the acting in this scene is, I do want to give some credit to that last line. It implies that the filmmakers are aware this is an overused cliche and that you should not be taking this seriously. Maybe if the film was this self-aware about the rest of its cliches, we could actually have a good movie on our hands. And quite honestly, the scene that follows up this line is pretty damn good. The traditional exposition dump is delivered in a very nicely animated format. In this scene, Omi explains the lore behind Krampus and her own history with him. And it's a very well done scene. The well written dialogue, good acting, and great animation all helps the scene work. I also love the extra touches the animators put in here. However, I am very confused about how the whole Krampus lore works in this universe. Omi explains her rough family situation and explains that she lost the Christmas spirit and as a result Krampus came for her. To teach her a lesson, he kidnapped her parents. Basically, the rules of this film set up are that Krampus takes your family away from you. Or at the very least, anyone staying with you over Christmas. But a lot of people have died who have not been staying with you over Christmas. Why did the FedEx man die? Why did Derek die? Why did Derek's parents die? Why did the random snowplow driver die? If you really want to stretch it, you can pretend Beth is pregnant with Derek's baby. But that still does not explain the FedEx driver, and that does not explain the snowplow driver, never mind the fact that Derek and her parents are not staying with this family anyway. So what exactly are the rules here? The snowplow driver didn't even know the family. I was not expecting everything in this movie to make complete sense, but I was at least expecting some consistency. When you set up rules in your universe, you are expected to follow them. You cannot just bend them to pad the runtime.
Here I thought I was the one losing it. What?
Did you not just watch your son get dragged up a chimney? Also, Omi stopped crying really fast. But I just want to take now to remind you of that scene I told you to remember from earlier.
Hey, Mom. We have to go pick up Beth, but Max and Sarah will take care of you while I'm gone.
Aber das meine ich überhaupt nicht.
Mom,
Bitte,
hey,
Tom.
Mom, listen. Alles wird in Ordnung sein. Ich verspreche. Everything's gonna be okay.
You're now probably thinking, oh yeah, there was a scene where Tom and Omi were conversing in different languages. You're now probably remembering the amount of scenes where Max and Omi converse in different languages. So this leaves us with two very big questions. The first question is quite simply, why is anyone surprised Omi can speak English? Why does the film try and play it as a surprise to the audience when we can very clearly tell she understands the language? Maybe it's just me who thinks it's a bit pointless to learn to understand a language but not speak it. And the second question is, Ben, why are you only bringing this up now? Why didn't you bring it up when Omi actually started speaking English? And that's because it was a memory test. If you have actually seen this movie, then the second I put focus on that clip, I imagine you knew exactly what point I was going to build to. So I decided to bring it up a little later to see if anyone actually remembered the clip in question. Because as this episode has proven, this film is very, very good at being unmemorable. Okay, I'm not as far through this movie as I'd have wished to have been in this part 2, but I'm trying to keep these episodes to 20 to 25 minutes apiece, so I'm just going to finish this up here. There is just under 45 minutes left of this movie. I'll either be cramming that all into a part 3, or hell, this might become a 4-part series. Either way, I hope to have part 3 out sometime in August. Although I am fully aware this will get struck by copyright, so I'm not promising anything for release dates. I don't plan on actually making any starts on part 3 until this video is up and past copyright. And even then, the Krampus videos are not the only big videos I'm working on at the moment. So yeah, I'm setting a goal to have part 3 up in August, although if I cram it all, it might be part 3 in late August. Here's hoping I can finish this series before Christmas comes around. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe, and bad at outros, and I'll see you in whatever I do next.